Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video. Today we'll have a bit of a chat about what's going on around the country. We'll go into the press and take a look at what the main stories are around the country today. And then at the end of the video we'll go into the comment section and take a look at what is happening there also. Now there's lots of news around today, especially when it comes to new restrictions around the country. Various autonomous communities are asking for more restrictions. Again, they're asking for the central government to play a bigger role, but the central government is saying that new rules and regulations have to be implemented by the autonomous communities. Some parts of the country have been able to reinstate a curfew. Other parts of the country have not been able to reinstate a curfew because the justice system there will not support it. So again, it's a little bit confusing what's going on in Spain when it comes to what you can do and what you can't do. The topic of face masks is again making headlines, whether they should be obligatory outdoors or not. There was a survey published yesterday by broadcaster Antena 3, and I think a clear majority of people in that survey said that it was a bad idea to get rid of that obligatory outdoor mask wearing rule. So the way things are going in Spain, it will only be a matter of time before mask use is again mandatory outdoors. Now yesterday in Madrid, a court annulled a fine that was handed out during the lockdown in 2020. A person who was fined €601 last year for not adhering to confinement rules and regulations had that fine quashed yesterday. And this has opened the door for more fines that were handed out during that period to be annulled. And I read somewhere yesterday that more than 1 million fines were handed out during that 3.5-month lockdown period in 2020. And apparently the economic amount of those fines ranges from €601, like the one I just mentioned, to €30,000. Now, as we saw yesterday, the price of electricity reaching record highs in Spain and other European countries at the moment. And I think today it is also going to reach a maximum level, something like €106 per megawatt hour. And from what I've read, this is due to various reasons. For example, an increase in gas prices, CO2 emission levels, and also the fact that there are not a lot of renewables in the energy mix. So be careful turning on the air conditioner today in Spain, because I believe it is going to be very, very hot in some parts of the country, and you don't want to get a nasty shock on your electricity bill when it arrives in coming weeks. Now, another piece of news that has caught my attention today relates to the hotel confinement in Mallorca that we saw a few weeks ago. Just under 200 students, I believe, were confined in a hotel there because of a COVID outbreak. And as we can see in this headline, imputen por detención ilegal a la responsable del confinamiento de los estudiantes del macrobrote de Mallorca. So the person responsible for confining those students in Mallorca now charged with illegal detention. So it seems to be a case of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I'm sure that that person thought that confining those students at the time was the right thing to do, because apparently those student parties in Mallorca were the trigger that set off this current wave of COVID-19 that we have in Spain, because a lot of the kids that were in Mallorca brought COVID-19 back to their cities, towns and pueblos when they returned home. Now we'll go into the English version of El País, because there's an article there today that has caught my attention, and it is that during the 5th wave of the coronavirus in Spain, 83% of new cases are among unvaccinated citizens. So 83% of new cases in Spain, according to the health ministry, as we saw there, among people that have not been vaccinated. And hopefully that piece of news will keep people in the comment section who have been saying the opposite quiet. Now another piece of news that has caught my attention today is this one here. El Consejo de Ministros aprueba la venta en farmacias de test COVID sin receta médica. So you can now pick up a COVID test in pharmacies in Spain without a prescription. And they give you the choice of taking the test home and doing it there, or you can do it on the spot in the pharmacy. And if the result is positive, you have to go into self-isolation, and you also have to get in contact immediately with your local health centre so that they can confirm it with a PCR. So hopefully these pharmacy tests will take some of the pressure off primary healthcare services, which are currently saturated. And I think the health ministry today is also going to set the price for these tests, and apparently they're going to be between €6 and €10. Now we'll finish the news today on a lighter note, and this story here has caught my attention, and it is: las telefónicas prometen otra vez que no llamarán durante la siesta después de 10 años de incumplimientos. So telephone companies in Spain have again promised that they won't call people during the siesta time in Spain, but apparently they have been breaking this rule for the last 10 years. And they've also said that they won't call it weekends, public holidays, and after dinner. And I'm going to be honest, there is nothing that annoys me more than getting a phone call from one of these companies when I'm trying to have a siesta. So let's see if this time around they keep their word. Now let's go into the comments section. We'll have a look at this one here from Ken. Congratulations to Spain. You have surpassed the USA in fully vaccinated people. It's 48.6% here, and we have unused vaccines just waiting for the other 51.4% of the population 12 years and older. I said last month this would happen. Wish I was wrong. This means the virus will probably mutate further with an even more dangerous variant, possibly making those currently vaccinated virtually unprotected. Yeah, Ken, thanks for the comment and thanks for pointing that fact out, and to be honest, I did not know that. I was under the impression that the United States was a lot more advanced when it comes to vaccinations than Spain, because as we know, Spain was very late getting their vaccination program up and running, and I thought that the USA started theirs earlier than Spain. And what's the reason for the slowdown there? Do people not see the need to be vaccinated? Is the message not getting across? Is that 51.4% of the population anti-vaxxer? As we saw a couple of minutes ago, more than 80% of new cases here in Spain are among people that have not been vaccinated, and there does always seem to be a risk that more dangerous variants of COVID-19 are just around the corner. The United Kingdom, as we know, has a very advanced vaccination program, and that has led Boris Johnson to scrap a lot of the restrictions that they have had in place in England for the last 18 months. And here in Portugal yesterday, the Prime Minister said that they expect group immunity sometime by the end of September. So we'll see if the United States picks up that vaccination rate or if it stays stagnant at around 50%. One here from John. Hi Stuart, I wouldn't listen too much as to what opposition leader Keir Starmer says about what is going to happen to further future restrictions because of Boris Johnson's Freedom Day. Anyone with a bit of common sense can predict that. It's not rocket science when you allow more freedom to the people. Starmer, if he had his way, would have a full lockdown for 12 months of the year. He's as clueless as Johnson. In fact, I'm not sure if any one of the politicians have any real ideas. This virus looks as though it's here to stay for the future, so we've got to live with it and carry on as normal as possible with living. Yeah, John, thanks for the comment, and it does seem that this virus is not going away anytime soon. I mentioned yesterday that the UK opposition leader was quite critical of Mr. Johnson's Freedom Day. I can't remember his exact words, but I think he said that it will lead to a free-for-all when it comes to the amount of cases there. And I think the predictions by some health experts are around 100,000 cases a day by midsummer. So Freedom Day like they have in England, or Restraint Day like they have in other European countries, I don't know what the better option is, but all I know is that the world's eyes are on England to see if this is the way to move forward or not. One here from Maggie. Thank you, Stuart, for your interesting take on affairs in Spain, social and political. I may be wrong, but I thought the Cervantes Institute was the gold standard for learning Castellano Spanish. I'm on my second course there, A2.3, nivel muy bajo por desgracia, and back this up with regular italki conversation hour. But I would love to hear of other approaches. I'm in Almeria just now, and I think they have a strong accent. Yeah, Maggie, thanks for the comment, and you're right, people in Andalusia do tend to have quite a strong accent when it comes to speaking Spanish. In fact, there are parts of Andalusia where I don't understand a word people are saying. And when it comes to learning Spanish, the place that you mentioned there does have a good reputation, the Cervantes Institute. It's the Spanish equivalent, of course, of the British Council, and I'm sure they have good teachers and it's a good place to learn Spanish, but I imagine that there are other places around the country where you can also learn Spanish well. So keep working on your Spanish, currently at the A2 level, not far off the B1, and my advice would be to get outside and start practicing with as many people as you can, COVID regulations permitting. One here from Hayden. Usual half-hidden little Aussie dig at the UK there with the Scarborough pics. Just as well, the majority of subscribers and watchers of these interesting updates, UK citizens, don't take it to heart. Yeah, Hayden, thanks for the comment, but mate, I'm an Aussie and we look for any opportunity to have a crack at the English. But it's all done with tongue-in-cheek, no harm intended, and just wait until the Ashes cricket series starts later this year and then things will really start to warm up. And finally, one here from Rubbery. There are a lot of towns and cities in Australia called after the same name in the UK. Now I wonder why that is, Stuart. LOL. Yeah, Rubbery, thanks for the comment, and you're right, there are a lot of places in Australia named after places in the UK. There are also quite a few places named after people that went to Australia back in the day, but there's a push currently going on down there by some people to change those names. But there's also a lot of variety when it comes to names of places down there in Australia. For example, in Western Australia where I come from, there's a lot of Indigenous names. Although the capital Perth is named after a city in Scotland with the same name, a lot of the suburbs in Perth have Indigenous names, for example, Karrinyup, Joondalup, Currambine, for example, and a lot of other towns and cities around the state also have an indigenous name, for example Kalgoorlie, Katanning, Narrogin, Pinjarra and Mandurah, to name just a few. So a bit of a mix, but you're right, there are quite a few British origin place names down there in Australia, but for how long, I don't know. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.